Imagine, if you will, my nightmare of waking up to a world where grocery store shelves are empty and fresh food is scarce. What kind of world is this? Well, it happens right before major snowstorms. It happens right before hurricanes. It happens when any bad weather is coming. And it happens during, pandemics, that kind of thing. It can happen, and you never know when it will. Hello, everyone, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and we are all about pantry preparedness. Today, we're going to talk about 20 things that you should consider having in your long-term food storage. Having a well-stocked pantry ensures that you and yours have the nutrition that you need during times of emergencies. Now, these emergencies can literally be weather-related. They can be financial. They can be, a job loss or a medical issue, something like that. There are so many different personal emergencies that can happen. I'm not talking about the end of the world as we know it and zombies running around the streets, okay? I'm talking about everyday life. This stuff happens. It's your own personal SHTF situation. It's terrifying. And having this one part, this one single section of your preparedness actually taken care of can help you get through those difficult times with one less thing to worry about. If you have ever been in a position where I have, okay, I had a time where literally, I kid you not, I ate air pop popcorn for the better part of a week because that's pretty much all I had. There were some condiments in the fridge, but for the most part, it was air pop popcorn, my friends. There's another time in my life, quite a few years later, where I still hadn't learned my lesson, where money was super tight, and I wasn't a pantry preparedness person at that point. And literally, my last $10 went towards a hot and ready pizza that I divided up to get me through the last part of the week because I had no more money. There was no more money to buy food. These are the kind of situations that we want to avoid. These are the kind of things that we want to make sure that we have covered for just daily life emergencies, like major car expenses, that kind of thing. There are so many people classified as working poor. They're putting in their 40 plus hours a week and they are scraping by. They are one major expense away from true catastrophe, whether it's the washer and dryer breaking, whether it's a major car expense, anything like that can literally throw you back months and months behind in your bills, behind in how you get by, and it can be the catalyst to put you into situations that you don't want to be in. This is why we do pantry preparedness. It is the best insurance that money can buy. So let's talk about the 20 things that you can stock up on only if you currently eat them, okay? The 20 things that you can stock up on today to make sure that you've got long-term food storage. Number one, white rice, jasmine, whatever, white rice, even minute rice, okay? Rice will last you 25 to 30 years if stored properly. How do you store it properly? You put it in airtight containers. I put it in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. I take those Mylar bags, I put them into buckets, okay? I also have rice that's in jars, like I do the pasta over here on the shelf, because it's easier, it's convenient, I can grab it and I can go. When those jars run out, then I start working on the ones in the bucket. No harm, no foul. As long as it's an airtight container that nothing can get into, you're golden. Does it have to be Mylar? No. It has to be an airtight container. If you're going to use oxygen absorbers, then you really should stick with Mylar, okay? But if you're going to put it in a glass jar, just vacuum seal it and put the ring back on. You're good to go. They have those, lock lids now, that kind of thing that you can do. But that gets kind of pricey when you're looking at putting up, quite a bit of rice. So base it on how much you think you might need over the course of a year or two and go from there. How much rice do you eat? We don't eat a lot, but I still have, I think, about 25 pounds of rice in the house because that will literally last us until I'm gone, It's enough rice for us. So it's one more thing that I don't have to think about. White rice instead of brown rice, because brown rice has a natural oil in it and it will go rancid over time. By over time, I mean 6 months to a year. That's literally how quickly it goes rancid. So for long-term storage, just white rice. If you're just stocking up for 6 months, then brown rice is fine. Number 2 is dried beans. Dried beans are fantastic. It doesn't take a horrible amount of time to cook them up. They're easy, they are protein, they are fiber, they are filling, they're healthy. And with just the addition of a little bit of spices, you can change it up any way you want. So of course, rice and beans are going to be the first 2 things, right? Because they're inexpensive, super inexpensive. Right now, I think per serving, they're probably less than eggs, okay? So beans, and it doesn't matter what kind. It does not matter what kind as long as it's a dried bean. These will last 20 to 30 years. Yeah, 20 to 30 years. Same rules apply. Airtight containers. Long-term storage, I put them in Mylar and put them back in buckets, okay? With oxygen absorbers. If you want, you don't have to, but I do because it just makes more room. Or you can put them into glass jars, same thing. Any kind of airtight container. I take them out of the original packaging because the plastic that they use for the original packaging is not a long-term storage kind of thing. It degrades over time. You don't want that degrading in with your food. So I do take them out of the original packaging. If you have food saver bags, that's great. It's not as secure as Mylar. As long as you are putting them in, they're obviously not, protectant against the light. As long as you are putting them into, say, a bucket, inside of those, that's great. That's fine. 6 of one, half dozen of the other, except that not all food saver type bags are great for long term. You will notice that sometimes some of them let go, Would I waste an oxygen absorber? Not necessarily, because your food saver will suck the air out, and that should be adequate. Number 3 is rolled or steel cut oats, because they're good. I know, glyphosates, all that other fun stuff. Okay, do your homework. You do you, boo. Seriously. But oatmeal, these particular, the rolled or steel cut oats will last you 15 to 30 years. Now that's quite a span, but 15 to 30 years, they will last you if stored properly. And so again, airtight container, same rules apply as the other stuff, okay? So Mylar and buckets or glass containers that are sealed, because rodents and squirrels and, whatever else might accidentally get into your house, they will look for the food. And so you want them to not be able to smell it. You want them to not be able to access it. And pantry moths are a nightmare like none other. You know what never goes bad? Sugar. Yeah, sugar never goes bad. It's awesome. Now, you do not want to use oxygen absorbers, or you don't want to vacuum seal your sugar. It will turn into a legitimate brick, and then you'll have to, I kid you not, take a chisel and get it to come loose, okay? So just put it in a bucket and make it airtight. You can put it in Mylar in a bucket, which I do recommend, because it just keeps it contained, but don't remove the air. Just leave it in there the way that it is, and it's fine. For me, the Mylar and the bucket is just an added layer of protection. Do I have that? Not necessarily. I literally have 5-gallon buckets filled with sugar. I don't have gamma lids on them. I have the regular lids that seal down really good with it. Gamma lids are not considered airtight, but they are good enough if it's a bucket that you're working out of at that time. Just make sure you screw it down really tight. So yeah, sugar. It lasts forever. Another thing that will outlast me is my salt collection. I have a salt collection. Who does that? Anyway, salt will never go bad. Same rule applies. Do not remove the air. No oxygen absorbers, no vacuum sealing. You will have a brick, okay? But salt will literally last forever. I recommend having different kinds of salt. We have the iodinized salt, and we have the ones that don't have it in there. We have sea salt, we have black salt, we have, all the different salts. You do need the iodine that they put in the salt. It's something that we genuinely do need. So for that reason, they started adding it to salt forever and ever ago. But it's not necessary in everything, but have a little bit, and it's not a bad thing. Or have a lot, and it's not a bad thing. Salt is one of those things that you will never regret having because it pops out flavors and stuff. It really, Yeah, sometimes just a little bit of salt will kick up the flavor of beans and rice, to where it's a little more palatable for everyone. Another one that makes life just a little bit sweeter is honey. I want you to be very, very intentional about the honey that you do purchase, okay? Because real honey out of the bees, okay, will literally last you forever. Yes, it may crystallize and become cloudy. Put it in some hot water. It'll loosen back up again, okay? It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean you can't use it. You don't even have to loosen it back up again. Just chisel some of it out and you're good. Honey lasts forever. If you are buying a commercial brand of honey, you want to really make sure that what you're getting is 100% honey. That's it. There was a time when they would add a little Karo syrup in there or whatever. You want to make sure that's not the case, because honey lasts forever. If it's been altered or, something else to dilute it, that's not the case. But honey will definitely make everything taste better. Powdered milk. Yep. Okay. But there's a caveat to this. So powdered milk being low fat or no fat powdered milk. Okay. No fat powdered milk will last you 20 to 25 years if stored properly. The powdered milk with the fat in it, does have a reduced amount of time because it's got the fat. So it does tend to go rancid. Okay. So you want to do that for about a year. But the no fat powdered milk, literally 20 to 25 years. I take it out of the original packaging. You don't have to. If you get commodities, then a dime to a dollar says that the packaging it's coming in is a kind of a plastic packaging. It's good in there for a very long time. You have no problems. That's a nice, sturdy, thick plastic, and it will keep your powdered milk good for a very long time. If you prefer, you can dispense it into other containers like glass jars or Mylar. I do take mine out, put it into Mylar, oxygen absorber. It takes up less room. It just takes up less room. That's why I do it. And then I put it into buckets. 5-gallon buckets are my life. Okay. But you don't have to. Just you can take it in the original packaging, and then I would put it in a bucket and put a lid on it because critters. Okay. If it is the full fat milk, you just want to make sure you're rotating through it. That's all. I mean, it's not hard. And having powdered milk around is a lifesaver. If, say, you get hit with 19 inches of snow and it's not something that's typical around you and everybody has wiped out the stores, I can guarantee you on the milk and bread run that it's all gone, okay? But if you've got powdered milk, you can make milk. You can absolutely make milk, and you can add it to your baked goods. You can add it to your cooking. You can add it to your cereal, and it's all perfectly good. That way you're always covered and you always have the milk that you desire without having to do the milk and the bread run like some other people. Number 8, we're going to talk about canned vegetables, and these are commercially canned. Okay, so this is a good thing to know. Canned vegetables like corn and green beans, that kind of thing, they have a shelf life of 5 to 10 years. What you want to do, though, is you want to keep track of the appearance of the can. If the can has been degraded, if it has been dented or anything like that, that is not something you want to keep on your shelf for a very long time, okay? Because it's just not a good thing. If you've dented it on the outside, it's dented on the inside, and that's a breach in security, quite honestly. But they will last 5 to 10 years. But it says that it's only good for a year. It doesn't say that. It says the best buy date is maybe a year off, okay? But it's a best buy date. All that means is that you get the optimum nutrition if you use it within that time frame. Not that you have to throw it out afterwards, okay? So just use it. Just use it. Don't put it on your shelves unless it's something that you're going to use. Otherwise, you're lighting dollar bills on fire. And hey, if you haven't noticed, we can't afford to do that anymore, okay? So you want to make sure that they're still properly sealed. And this goes for your canned or your commercially canned. Make sure that they're properly sealed. Always cool, dark, dry place, okay? If your basement has moisture in it, you're going to want to keep track of these cans because they will start to rust. It's just, it's moisture, okay? So keep an eye on that. Check them for dents or rust before you go to use them, and you're good to go. Number 9 is canned meats. Now, I love me some home canned meats, okay? Ugly chicken is my life. And that is something that will last you much longer than what they tell you that it will. So when you're looking at home canned, they say 18 months on the lids, right? Well, that's their guarantee. That's their liability clause for how long the lids will last. I can tell you that I have chicken that's 3 years old that I am just now finishing up, and I have no concerns about the lids at all. They have lasted well. Home canned food, if canned properly, okay, and everything in the world aligns, they can sit on your shelf for 10 years and not have any problems. Seriously. It again is one of those things where it's the nutritional value, okay? It's always best within a year or so. And then it starts to very slowly, very minimally degrade just a little bit in nutritional value. However, 10 years later, you can open a can of ugly chicken or ugly beef or whatever the case may be, and you will still get nutrition, and you will still get protein, and you will still fill your belly. And so that's what's important. The same rule applies with the commercially canned, like the commercially canned chicken or the Keystone beef or, anything like that. The same rules apply as with the vegetables. You want to make sure that there's no moisture getting to them, that they are not dented, that there's no, degradation to the can itself, and it's good. The date on the top or on the bottom or wherever they stamp it is a best buy date. It is not an expiration date. Please don't throw it out, okay? It is perfectly good and nutritious and belly filling, and that's what we want. Meat's too expensive to do that. And, quite honestly, an animal gave up its life. Don't throw it out. Number 10 is pasta. I have my shelf of pasta over here that I bought before we decided, we really can't eat that much pasta anymore. So now I make pasta whenever anybody else comes over. But pasta has a nice long shelf life if you store it properly, okay? So you can put it in Mylar. A lot of people will put it inside of a bag and then put it inside of Mylar to keep any sharp edges from poking through the Mylar. I just put it in glass jars and vacuum seal it, unless it's something like orzo or elbow macaroni. At that point, anything that's rounded off, I'll put Mylar, oxygen absorber, throw it in a bucket, call my life good, because it literally will last you, how long? 20 to 30 years. Yeah, this pretty much goes for all pastas, okay? As long as they're dry. It's a dry pasta, so not the stuff that you get out of the refrigerator section, right? Again, cool, dark, dry, okay? Mylar bags works great. Glass jars work great. Buckets work great. Do whatever you got to do. Keep it out of the way. You will have it for 20 to 30 years. Powdered peanut butter. I love peanut butter, you guys. I'm a Jif gal all the way. So peanut butter I like having around, but powdered peanut butter we have become very fond of because we can make, no-bake little protein balls, or we can throw it in our smoothies, or we can do whatever. Add it to your baked goods. Yeah, it's really good in baked goods. There's like a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with it, but it has a very nice shelf life as opposed to regular peanut butter. Regular peanut butter does have a significant amount of oil in it. If you've ever had natural peanut butter, you know how it separates. If you've ever had commercial peanut butter, it also separates after a certain amount of time. Yeah, you can mix it back in there. That's fine. But powdered peanut butter will literally last you 15 to 20 years if sealed in an airtight container. Now, for that kind of long-term storage, I do recanister it. And if it's in a metal can, you're fine. If it's in a plastic jar or whatever, then I put it into Mylar and put it into buckets, because buckets are my life. So it depends on how you initially get it. I take it out of plastic because plastic is more permeable than the metal is, okay? Other than that, 15 to 20 years to make sure that you've always got your favorite flavor. Peanut butter, yeah. Cooking oils. Okay, so this is the one caveat that's pretty low, compared to the rest of them, okay? Most of your cooking oils, I find a year to 2 years, they are good before they start to go rancid. Again, it's going to be very dependent on your conditions. Cool, dark, and dry is super important for this. But if you live in a warm climate and you don't have a cool place to store stuff, it will shorten the life of the cooking oil, no matter what it is. So that's something to take into consideration and to kind of, put into your plans. Now, coconut oil is the caveat to that rule, is it does last longer, but I don't find coconut oil to be use, something that you can use in absolutely everything that you do. I do use it for some things, but for the most part, I'm an olive oil gal. So I know that I'm good for 2 years max is what I have found. And that is the rule that I go by. I do have lard that we render from our pigs, and I keep that in the freezer because it does not last otherwise. It's good for about 6 months out in the wild, So, yeah, something to consider because fats are important. But for your long-term storage, just to make sure you've got that extra bottle to see you through at least another year until you figure out how you're going to do it from there. Huge bonus. Dried fruits. A lot of people are like, what do I do with my dried fruits? Do not vacuum seal them. That's the number one. Do not vacuum seal them. Do not use oxygen absorbers in them because the best conditions for oxygen absorbers and vacuum sealing is when it's 10% moisture or less. Most of the dried fruit that you get has 17% moisture in it. But you know what? It still lasts a really long time. If stored properly, you can get 15 to 20 years out of that dried fruit. That's raisins, that's apricots, that's cranberries, that's figs, that's, you name it. You can get 15 to 20 years if you store it properly, which means that you want it in an airtight container, cool, dark, and dry, just like everything else, okay? But do not put oxygen absorbers in there and do not use, vacuum sealing for it because that they believe helps produce the toxins for botulism because it still has moisture in it, and moisture is not good for long-term storage. But 17% moisture in an airtight container where you're not, trying to pull all that stuff out with the air, apparently works very well. I know that I have had cranberries and I have had raisins that sat on my shelves for almost 5 years because, you get a good deal, and they were still perfectly good to eat. The key, again, is airtight container, cool, dark, and dry. And coffee is life, right? At least around this house it is. It's other people's lives if I don't have coffee. So, coffee. But let's say coffee prices are getting really stupid because, they're still saying they're going to keep going up and up and up. And there's an emergency and you're out of coffee. Huh? What? You can't get to the store and you want some coffee because coffee is life. Instant coffee. Even I have started doing this, okay? I now make it a regular practice to purchase a jar of instant coffee to put on my shelf. It's freeze-dried. It's like always freeze-dried, okay? And it makes coffee. It gives you that caffeine. It gives you that comfort of a warm drink that you're familiar with. Life is wonderful. So always, if you're a coffee drinker, it's a good idea to have some instant coffee as backup because there may be a time where you can't get your ground coffee at the store, where you don't have the access to beans to grind. And unless you've been buying the green coffee beans and roasting them yourself and doing all, that's a lot, okay? I don't know about you, that's a lot. So I just want some coffee. Just make sure I get at least a cup of coffee every single day. Freeze-dried, instant coffee, which all instant coffee is freeze-dried, will last you 20 to 25 years. Yeah, seriously. It's that good. I love it. You can redispense it into Mylar if you want, just to take up less room, because, there's a lot of glass jars running around here. So you can do that and take up less room. You can have a whole 5-gallon bucket of coffee. Is that like heaven or what? Okay, powdered eggs. You guys know my favorite powdered eggs in the entire world are Thrive Life powdered eggs. I'm a Thrive Life consultant, by the way, in case you didn't know it. Probably the world's worst. There's links down below. Anyway, they have a really great powdered egg, okay? But most powdered eggs that you get will only last 10 to 15 years. Some of them even say 5 just to be on the safe side. So you want to make sure that it's something that you're rotating through on a regular basis. And in today's world, right, having some powdered egg as backup is a really great thing to make scrambled eggs, to make omelets, that kind of thing. Some people say you can use it in baking. Some people say, it's not quite the same. Try it. That's all I can say. Try it, okay? It's not going to hurt. Now is the time to try it before you need it. Powdered eggs are a great thing to have. Let's talk a little bit about commercially ground white flour, because this is a question I'm getting quite a bit lately. Commercially ground white flour, okay? has still natural oils in it. At max, under good conditions, that will last you 2 years outside of the freezer. Airtight container, okay? Yes, I would add oxygen absorbers if you're going to plan on keeping it for 2 years. I never have because I don't go, I go through it faster than that. So white flour is not something I buy for long-term storage because it does not have that shelf life. And I know people are out there saying it'll last you 25 years. It's not. It will not last you 25 years. I promise you, okay? So you will end up spending money and taking up space on something that won't be there potentially when you need it in the future. Please, okay? White commercially ground flour, 2 years max. Again, you want to put it into airtight containers. I literally empty mine into buckets. I buy 25-pound bags at a time. I empty them into buckets with gamma lids. I screw them on tight. I rotate through those in about a year, no problem, because I bake for other people. So it goes through, pretty quick. It's a good thing. Unlike whole wheat flour, 6 months tops, okay? Almond flour, you're right around the same way. All your specialty flours have a pretty short shelf life. But if you are interested and you are making a commitment into your pantry preparedness, then I definitely encourage you to check out purchasing wheat and a wheat grinder and learning how to mill your own flour. You will be getting real, authentic whole wheat bread. It is a learning curve. So would I wait to do it until there's an emergency? No, I would learn how to do it now, okay? I can tell you, Nutrimil has already warned us that the prices are going up here very shortly. So if you are in the market and you can afford it, then I have a link down below for Nutrimil, which is the mill that I prefer. There's a couple different varieties there, and it's a $20 off coupon by using my link, okay? So if, save a buck where you can, put that money towards wheat. I buy my wheat from palousbrand.com. Again, the link is down below. And we've done different things on using fresh milled flour. There is a significant learning curve. You only mill it as you need it because it doesn't last very long after you mill it, like under a week, I believe. I just mill it as I need it, and it's a beautiful thing. It's so much healthier for you. It's real. It will grow mold when you make bread, unlike, say, Wonder Bread that will never grow mold, which tells you that it shouldn't be going into our bodies. As far as the wheat berries go, yes, Mylar bags, airtight containers, 5-gallon buckets, the whole deal, okay? You will make some investments to build a long-term food storage. It's not something you do overnight. It's something that you build up as you go along. But literally, that wheat will outlive you if you want it to. Okay, number 17 is a twofer. Yes, baking powder, baking soda. Now, these only have a 1 to 2 year shelf life. I know. Okay. And yes, you can make your own baking soda. You can. They have leavening agents and they lose their potency over time. So keep them in airtight containers away from moisture. Okay. Because, moisture kills everything, and you will have what you need for your baking needs, because leavening makes things rise. It's beautiful. But they don't have a super long shelf life. Number 18 is bouillon cubes or powder. I prefer the powder, but the cubes do have their purposes, So they have a shelf life of 2 to 3 years. I know that Thrive's, I believe, is around the 5-year mark, I think. Don't quote me on that one. Anyway, so, bouillon, because it really does make a difference. You put a little bit of that in with your rice and your beans. Yes, hello. You put a little bit of that into some hot water and you have a nice drink. Shoot for low sodium, okay? Because it's like having chicken broth or beef broth, only without having chicken broth or beef broth. Sometimes it just makes you feel better. It adds some flavor to your soups and your stews. It's a good thing. Spices and herbs are a tricky one, aren't they? These really are what makes the huge difference in what you store in your pantry. I'm going to keep going back to rice and beans because it's easy. I could literally make you dinner 7 days, okay, using rice and beans, and you will never eat the same thing twice, and they won't taste anything alike, because herbs and spices. Now, your herbs and spices will typically last around 2 years. They are at their best and most potent in the first year. However, there's a caveat to this. I did an experiment with cumin, and I bought bulk cumin, and then I put it into a Mylar bag and an oxygen absorber, and I sealed it up and I put it away and I brought it out. Oh, easily 5 years later, it was perfect. Okay. It's out of the light. It's airtight as airtight can get with an oxygen absorber, and it's packed away in a cool, dark, dry place. And so, yeah, it's as good as new. If you put it into your spice jars, you'll notice that if you don't use your spices, very frequently, that after a year and change, they're just not as potent, or the taste is a little off. I've had Italian spice or Italian seasoning and oregano do that to me because I didn't use them a whole bunch at one time. And I'm like, wow, they actually tasted stale, But if you are buying in bulk, then you can put them into smaller Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, seal them up. They will last you a very long time. If you're not going to go to that effort, if you're going to say buy the bottles of it or whatever at the store, they're typically 2 to 4 years, depending on whether or not it's been opened, and you go with that. Again, cool, dark, and dry. They lose their potency and flavor over time. It's just what they do, and that's fine. If you get the whole spices, like say instead of ground nutmeg, you get nutmeg, or ground cinnamon, you get the cinnamon sticks. Those last longer and are definitely more potent, but again, you want to seal them long-term in Mylar with an oxygen absorber, cool, dark, and dry, get them out of the way, and they'll be there for a very long time. Last but not least, okay, we have dehydrated vegetables. So you're looking at carrots, you're looking at potatoes, you're looking at that kind of thing, right? They have a shelf life, give or take, of 10 to 20 years. It's really going to be dependent on what it is, and it's going to be dependent on storage conditions and everything else. Dehydrated vegetables are super, super lightweight and space efficient. So if you're looking at, okay, I really only eat carrots when I put them in soups and stuff like that, then dehydrated or freeze-dried might be your best bet because they take up like no room. They're much lighter than putting up a whole bunch of jars of carrots that, you're going to have to chop up and do whatever to when you put it to soups or stews. So you want to make sure that when you do it, again, stored in airtight containers, they retain their nutritional value, and they can rehydrate in various dishes. It's not even a matter of rehydrating them before you put them in the dish. You can rehydrate them in the dish, and it works beautifully. I do this with eggs. I do this with soups. I do this with stews. There are some baked casseroles where I don't rehydrate them. I just toss them in there. I know they'll do their due as I go. Make things a little easier on yourself. Take up a whole lot less space and have the vegetables that you need whenever you do. Here's just a few little extra storage tips because I always get them. Airtight containers, Mylar, oxygen absorbers, or high quality plastic containers like those lid lock, but the high quality ones, okay? To prevent moisture and oxygen from degrading the food. Air, light, and moisture. Those are not good. And heat are not good for your food, okay? Cool, dark place. So how cool is cool, Lisa? Can I put them in my garage when I live in Michigan? No, God, don't do that, okay? So the optimum temperature is between 50 and 75, okay? That's the optimum temperature for a pantry. We actually have a thermometer in this room that reads to our digital thing out in the living room that lets me know what the temperature is in the pantry. Am I super vigilant of this? No. I shut down all of my vents in here. We heat with wood, so if I keep the doors closed, this room can get frigid, okay? In the summertime, we technically have the air on for the dogs, but if it's not on, I don't worry about it too much because it is dark and it is dry and it'll be just fine. You want to make sure that you're trying to get as close to that optimum as you can. Does it matter if it gets warmer because, people live in warm climates? No, it doesn't. It will shorten the amount of time that is on that clock for your food, though. So instead of 5 years, it may be only good for 2.5. You know what I mean? It depends on how hot consistently it is over time. If you have a freak thing go on where you lose all of your power and you're living in a very warm area, and it gets to be 110 in your pantry for 3 solid weeks, even for over a week, You just have to go through and check your lids. You just have to go through and make sure that everything has stayed sealed, that nothing has exploded. Keep it cool, dark dry as much as you can, and come back and check on it again. You know, things happen. People have lived in hot climates for a very long time. So it's just shortening the general lifespan that they give us with the conveniences that we have with modern life. Always remember to rotate your stock. First in, first out. This is not a set it and forget it. You need to put the stuff with the shortest life in the front and the stuff you just bought behind it. Well, how do I do that and keep it nice looking? You pull the other stuff out. You pull the first stuff out. You put the new stuff in. You put the older stuff back. You don't want to use the stuff you just bought when you've got 10 cans of it sitting on your shelf. That makes no sense. It just compromises the food that you have. So rotate your food. Use it. It's not here to look at. It's here to use. I don't care how bad you think it's going to be in the next 10 years. You need to rotate through it because you will never, ever purchase it for the price that you did yesterday. And tomorrow, it'll cost even more than it will the day after tomorrow. So no matter what, you're saving money. I promise you. Humidity is not your friend in your pantry. Okay. So you want to keep the humidity at a nice level. Don't make it too wet. Just a couple extra considerations really quick before I go on way too long. You want to make sure to label everything. Trust me on this one. Label it. It's so important, okay? Number 2, do a regular inspection. This is where the inventory comes in handy because I will get in here at least 4 times a year just to go through every single shelf to make sure that nothing has been compromised, that nothing has been opened, that nothing has gotten into something. You know, you need to go through it on a regular basis and just make sure that everything is okay. And that's when you notice whether or not you're still eating something that you thought you ate a lot of. Number 3, you want to make sure that you're diversifying what you have, okay? Because you can't have all protein. You can't have all fruit. You need to make sure that you're diversifying and that you're getting your protein, you're getting your grains, you're getting your vegetables. Those are really, really important to make sure that your nutrition stays exactly where it's supposed to be during these chaotic and troublesome times. By selecting some of these variety of long-lasting foods, you are taking some major worry off the table. If an emergency happens, you don't have to worry about it, okay? You know that you're going to be fed. You know that your family is going to be fed. And that is one budget line item that you don't have to worry about in case of an emergency. Whether it is 19 inches of snow overnight or a job loss or a medical issue or a major car repair, okay? These kind of things will make life that much easier and it will help get you through these really difficult times. What is a food that you think that I have forgotten to address here? Throw it in the comments section down below because I don't know everything. You guys know a lot too. The hive mentality is the best place to be. If you want to see more ways to stock up your pantry for long term, check out this playlist right here. And until next time, my friends, be safe and stack it to the rafters.